Good evening, everyone. I see people are starting to sign in, and the warden was first. So, hi, Shelley. Congratulations. And hi, Debbie, and Jen, and Jerry, and Renee. So, the gang's all here. It's good to see everybody this evening. And I've just turned on my water, so I'm a little bit behind when the thinking here. And, and we've got Hoofing It. So I'm glad you're not outside riding your bike out there in the freezing cold snow. Not that you can't do that, but it's just not my favorite. So this evening, and hello, it's good to see you too, Fix MJ. Honestly, I don't know if that's like how you want that pronounced, or if you have a different name you want me to call you by. That's up to you. And hello, Christine. Everybody's joining. So this week what I've been advertising is a Vietnamese egg coffee, and I have everything here mostly ready to go, but like I said, I just turned on my stove to heat up the water because I didn't think I had enough time to have it ready. But Vietnamese egg coffee is crazy popular in by not only by local people, but it is like the #1 thing tourists order when you visit Vietnam, which if you ever get an opportunity to do, you should absolutely do it. It is a beautiful and gorgeous experience. So okay, MJ, I'll remember that. So but it's absolutely lovely, and actually that's what my backdrop is today. It's actually a picture of a street in Vietnam, so you can see, this was it was a gorgeous time. So this was not my photo. This was just a random shot from the internet. But if you go there, you see this beautifulness a lot. This is a dining and shopping district. So I digress. But that's what happens during the live streams. So Vietnamese coffee. Before we get into the egg portion, we'll tell you just a little bit about Vietnamese coffee. It's it's a really strong, super strong, which is why it's mixed with a lot of sweet things. So, but they actually have a special type of brewer for Vietnamese coffee that contributes to that extra strength. It's called a Fin, and I could swear I had one more, but I don't know what the heck happened to it, and my major carafe is missing as well, probably in camping equipment somewhere. Cherry mentions not to go to the dog meat market because it's very disturbing. And that his friend went there and was very heartbroken, and he was heartbroken seeing the photos. For sure, if you're not used to that, that would be quite distressing. And it is true, they do have dogs, but dogs there are super commonplace. You'll run into that in Korea as well. Oh, Jerry can just teach my class or do my live stream. He has all the facts too. I love that because he can fill in where I miss things and forget. So, but hi Susan. Susan B has just joined us. And so back to the Fin. And the Fin is comprised of several parts. It has a plate, and of course the plate has holes in it, which you can't really see it on the screen, but it's like a little teeny tiny holes all in a little swirl pattern on the bottom. Then it has a cup, and that also has holes in the bottom for it to drip through. And then it has a press, also full of holes, and then it has a lid. Now, you heard me mention everything has holes. This is my giant honkin' 24 ouncer. This baby never comes out because I have never had like a giant event. Let me turn my water down because it's getting ready. But I just haven't had the need. But the way you use a carafe or a vessel or a cup to brew directly into, I actually have my percolator with the innards taken out, and you could use that. It just sits right on top and brews right down into it. Then that's your serving vessel or your drink vessel. So that's the fin. I like to jokingly say it's sort of like the like your French press and your drip and your mocha pot all got together and had a baby, but it's kind of like the best of all the worlds. So the way this works, though, I'm going to set this aside to give myself a little more space. I also don't need a keyboard. But the way it works is you have your little plate over your carafe, or in this case, the cup I'm going to make my drink in. You put the little plate there. You will put your coffee, and here's where I'm going to dive into the actual coffee. And oh, I love it when I just take it off. I try to be nice to you guys and not grind right during the live stream because of how loud grinders are. But when I say it's strong, this is my little teeny 4-ouncer, and I'm going to put 2 spoons in. I'm going to give it a little shake, and I'm going to look in there and say I'm going to put another little bit because I really like it that way. But you give it a little shake to kind of even it out. You set it on top of the plate, and you put your little press down. Now some fins have actually like a little screw, and the screw actually doesn't really do anything. You're not looking to like press this down as super tight, just enough to give it a little bit of pressure, but nothing too major. And the spoon that I use is just your standard coffee scoop, but I really like these. I have the fancy ones for tea, loose leaf tea as well. They're just like, they're nice. They're stainless steel. This is a tablespoon. I have a fun one that actually is like half clip, so that when you buy the coffee beans in the bag, you can clip it back closed. So all that fun stuff. But so I have that, and along with your coffee, you need water, just like always. Today I decided to be fancy and put my water in a big giant wine goblet because who knows when the next time I'll have a glass of wine. Could be forever, and why not be fancy and use your stuff while you have it. So the kind of coffee you use for Vietnamese coffee is almost always going to be a Robusto. They like the Robusto. It's a stronger coffee. It's has a higher ratio of caffeine in the beans. So, I see some people are talking about the holiday meal. So I dropped some grounds on my counter, so sorry about that. I'm going to dust it off a little. I couldn't take it. But, and I see that Shelly states that they're going to fry a turkey. And I think that sounds awesome. I used to love frying the turkeys, but now that I have my, I don't know, I've been like on a smoking meat sort of binge, and I've just decided that I'm going to smoke my entire turkey. And I'm undecided as to whether I'm going to do the rib roast in the oven or also put that in the smoker. I've never put a rib roast in the smoker before, so I don't know. It's kind of a fancy pants cut of meat to be experimenting on, but who knows. So now I see Heath has joined as well, and Renee's making light of my big mug, but you gotta love the goblets. I always want to use them during the day too, during the course of the workday, but I'm worried that my coworkers will think that I'm actually imbibing. And I'm like, well, figure sticks in the mud. But you do want coffee not only to cleanse your palate, but because of how strong it is, you do need something to cut it. So I was mentioning the Robusto, and with the higher caffeine content, it's also a really dark roast. In the fins, you want to use kind of a coarser grind. You don't be crazy. You don't want it too coarse or the water will drip right through it. But if you did an espresso grind, then all your grounds are going to go into the coffee. And while you don't care in a Turkish coffee gets a nice layer of silt. You don't want that in your Vietnamese coffee. So, and then Jerry's sharing fun facts for us. He's sharing that Vietnam used to be French Indochina, and he's giving spoilers, you guys. So, but he mentions that their love of coffee is coming from the French influence, and then adding in their typical Asian flair. So, he's absolutely correct. So, and Renee mentions that as far as the drinking on the job, they're far more suspicious of people with the Yetis. So now I'm going to go off topic in just a second on that. I'm going to actually do the first thing, which is just like other coffee making where we did like the pour over. You want to bloom your grounds. So you just put enough water to just come up over the top of the filter. And yes, some grinds are going to come up in there. Don't worry. That's fine and dandy. It's all good. It's just and you're gonna let this sit for 30 seconds, a minute to get in there and bloom your coffee, just like you bloom gelatin or any number of other things. So, and then Jerry's on it with the nerd facts tonight. He's mentioning after World War II, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Asian countries were weary of Western influences, so they really fought to gain their independence from Europe. So. Yeah, it's actually, if you don't know a lot about the history of Vietnam, it's really fascinating to take a good look into it. It's got a really rich history. A lot of it is not happy history, but it is really, really fascinating to learn about their evolution. So, and Brianna has joined us. Hi, Brianna, and mentions that she got to spend a month in Vietnam when she was 24. It's like I said, it's absolutely an amazing place to visit, and absolutely, I heartily encourage people to visit there. So, just a little bit more about the what I'm doing here. The egg coffee, it's in Vietnamese, coffee is CAWFEE, so CAPHE, 2 words. So. Fortunately, it translates easily, and then for the Vietnamese egg coffee, it's called Cà Phê Trung. So that's something you'll need to know, but you should know that if you buy this in a Vietnamese coffee shop or even your local coffee shop, it's not a keto thing that you can have because it is made with sweetened condensed milk. The Vietnamese iced coffee is also made with sweetened condensed milk, and so those are not things we would have on the normal. We have to make our own. And so that is what I have done today, and it did take some effort to get it exactly right. And I tried a ton of recipes off the internet, and just like the Turkish delight, none of them were what I considered right. It just was absolutely not, especially when they tried to make it fluffy with whipped cream. Whipped cream has no business in Vietnamese coffees. But they do use that sweetened condensed milk for a particular reason. The Robusto coffee is super, super strong, and Robusto coffee also tends to lean towards that bitter side because of how dark it's roasted. In addition, Vietnamese Robusto coffee, while it used to have like a sugary oil coating, is actually now coated with a butter-based oil, and so that's what gives the beans those slickery look on the outside. Thanks, 50 Shades of Renee. That's what I'm going to call it now. But so now my coffee is bloomed. The water has absorbed into the grounds. I can basically, as you can see, pick it up by the filter because it's stuck down in there. You take your water and you fill it up all the way to the top of the fin. And we're going to hope that my coffee grounds are not too finely ground and this actually starts brewing. And if not, I'll be mildly distressed, but hope that someone upstairs is paying attention to the stream and gets me a little more coffee. But we'll see. I can see that it's brewing up here. If it doesn't, I will get my little spoon and lift it up and give it a little stir and get it going. I try not to be impatient, but the fact that it's not going at all tells me I may have ground my coffee too fine. So I was hoping it would. In fact, I am too impatient, so not this one. Just give me a second here to fiddle with it. Get my air bubbles up. I don't want to burn myself, but I do want to lift my grounds just a smidge. It's not a thing that I advise doing a lot. Ugh, I'm making a mess. There we go. Just had to get it lifted up a little. Like I said, that's not a normal thing to do, but again, as you try different things, that's what happens. But all fixed and good to go. I'll wipe my spoon off on my napkin because I needed it for a different application. But as you can see, it's kind of a slow drip. It does take some time. Some places will even put your glass into a bowl of hot water because it takes long enough to go. Let's see, I'm going to just catch up on the chat here a little bit. We mentioned it, Renee mentions that Jerry has a lot of things to share and he should maybe also consider starting a stream, but all set. But as it turns out, and then Jerry mentions that he doesn't think people would listen, but yes we would, because look at how you all are here. So, but the Jerry's now talking about the colonization of Southeast Asia from Western Europe and how that impacted the spice wars and raw materials in Southeast Asia. So, and I second his mention that it's fascinating read on history. If you are remotely interested in history, it's absolutely amazing. So, and since we're talking about history, I'm going to pull it back to the coffee and mention that, you know, when we talked about Turkish coffee, I was talking about crazy long periods ago, you know, 1,000, year 1000 and way earlier. So in that regards, Vietnam is a little bit behind the 8 ball on that. We're looking at the late 1800s, and it was introduced by, as you heard Jerry talking about earlier, the French colonizers. And actually it was really the French who were more interested in the coffee, and the Vietnamese people weren't that excited about it. It just didn't catch on right away. It actually took several decades, and like in the 1900s, the early 1900s, then it really started to pick up. People got a little bit more excited about the coffee, and that really sort of coincided with the opening of the Central Highlands, and which of course started bringing in trades, and that's where coffee really started to get a foothold in. I'm just double checking the chat here. No, okay, we're good. So, but yeah, so then coffee started taking hold, and as a part of that, the Vietnamese started farming coffee, and mostly around the Ben Ho, let me think for a second, the Lam Dong and the Dong Nai provinces. They actually produce like about 80% of the coffee in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, like I'm gonna say, they produce like 80% of the coffee in the Vietnam, and like 97% of that coffee is your Robusto, the one that we're using right here. The Arabica coffee, not so popular, only like 3%. But it's not that they don't have it. It's just that they don't generally tend to brew it. Just checking in here. It's looking good. It's almost done. I'm actually going to add a little more fluid to it. I just want a slightly bit more coffee, and maybe not quite as powerful this late in the evening on Sunday night. Normally, I wouldn't recommend you do such a terrible, heinous crime to the coffee, but I also don't want to run a marathon tonight before bed. So, Jerry mentions that maybe he should have been a history teacher instead of an IT technical sales rep. Honestly, one leads to the other. I went to school for literature, and here I am in IT. So I feel like somehow IT is where it picks up the artists that decided not to actually do their art. And yes, I do think teaching is an art. So at any rate, plantations, and I mentioned all of that. Somewhere in the mid-20th century, Vietnam wound up having a coffee shortage. And that shortage was basically due to all of the war and conflict they were having. So I probably should have just had a smaller cup, but I didn't have the right fit for the plate. So, but yeah, so when they had that coffee shortage, it was already popular, and they were really stepping up on things. I'm going to move some stuff. The drip is really slowed. It's like now down to like one little spot. It's a really big glass for the coffee that I was making, so it'll be a little weird, but not, oh well. I do love these glasses. These are just your standard rock tumblers, but I love the super round feel, and it is the right size for the plate, which for some reason is not an easy thing to find. But let's see. So anyway, so they have this coffee shortage, and the other thing that happens is they get they have a dairy shortage as well. For some reason, Vietnam goes through long periods of time throughout their history with dairy shortages, which is what led to a use of the sweetened condensed milk in a lot of things. Honestly, I think I don't know. I have to say, I spent a lot of time early on. Right after college, I was working on writing my textbook, because I had published my thesis, and then I needed something else. There is egg in the coffee, but not yet. So, but I don't know. I did a period of time where after I had defended my thesis, I was really experiencing some pretty hardcore burnout. So I did a little bit of teaching here and there, but I wasn't feeling it. My creativity was in the dumper. I was starting to put together a textbook, and I took a job doing import wholesale, and it was super cool. I have no idea why they hired me or thought I would be good at it, but turns out I was. But I had an interpreter who had to travel with me, and we spent a lot of time in Japan. I spent a huge quantity of time in Ningbo, and another large period of time in Singapore. And I really did fall in love with those regions, especially Singapore. But what makes me deep dive, I tell you, it's not just Asian countries. It is anything that I really tend to like. I tend to I'm just a crazy person, and so I dig in, and I read all the books, and I do all the things, and it's honestly, that's why I called myself the radical geek, because it is totally a geek thing, and that's just how it happens. So, and I happen to be lucky enough to retain, and what I can't retain, I actually can write down and refresh my memory because of my short-term memory issues. So that's how I prepare for these, actually, is all throughout when I decide what topic I want to talk about, I actually I send myself email all week of things that I remember, and then I fact check myself to make sure that I didn't make anything up, because, well, I would like to think I didn't, but I can be wrong. It's known to happen, and so I fact check myself, and I kind of organize it so that I have cheat sheets to not go off all into a crazy tangent and derail myself, even though that's what happens anyways. Yeah. Oh, I haven't been to the Philippines. I would really love to, because I've heard it is amazing. It looks, and you're right, on the food shows it does look absolutely fantastic. Let's see, there's some more stuff from Jerry. His stuff is good here. Oh, he mentions that much of the conflict that happened in Vietnam and other countries was due to their raw materials being stolen by Western powers with little to no payback for their countries. That is 100% spot on. Completely ransacked and ravaged. So, and once Vietnam saw all their fortunes basically whittled away, they found that they did have the power to kind of fight back out of the Western powers and pull their revenue back in. And that leads to the part, actually I'm going to finish making this so that we can enjoy it while we chat. It's pretty much stopped dripping, so I'm going to take the whole thing off and just set it aside on my little dirt plate. So the next part, I cheated and I made this just before I came down. This is the egg foam. It is 2 egg yolks, and then it is I'm gonna say 2.5 tablespoons of keto sweetened condensed milk. The sweetened condensed milk, we kind of talked about it in the Two Crazy Ketos group, but if you're not there, I tried several recipes, and the 2 favorites that I found were the one that's on Big Man's World. He has like a lot of good recipes, but they need a lot of tweaking. And then Wholesome Yum had a sweetened condensed milk using allulose, and I really liked hers, with the only caveat that in hers she recommends you bring it to a boil and then you bring it down and you simmer it. And every time I've tried to do it her way, I have made caramel. Not that there's a problem with caramel, but that's not what I'm looking for. And so what I did was I kind of took her recipe, which is you bring you melt some butter, and then you bring in some heavy cream and you warm it up. She adds the heavy cream and the allulose at the same time. I actually warm my cream up with the butter and get it nice and steamy first. Then I add in my allulose, and I get the allulose all melted, and then for just a moment I increase the heat and get it up to a simmer. No, you're fine, Jerry. Jerry's apologizing for sharing facts, but no, I love everybody sharing stuff, and the more we learn, the better. So never, ever, ever apologize. So anyways, back to the sweetened condensed milk. I do bring it up to a good simmer because that is critical to the emulsification of the butter and the cream. But I start whisking it like mad, and I actually take it off the heat for a second because I have a glass top. If I had a gas stove, and now that I think about it, I don't know why I don't come make it on my little camp burner here, but that would have been way more logical than all of the process I do. But I take it off the heat, and then I let the burner that I had turned up cool all the way down to low while I'm stirring, and I bring it back on, and I just keep it at a steam and stir it until it reduces. You see the steam coming off of it, but I don't bring it back up to a simmer because that's how you get caramel sauce. It does take longer. It takes like half an hour, almost 40 minutes for it to get completely thickened, but then you get that sweetened condensed milk instead of caramel. Now to make this, and the reason I cheated and made it ahead of time and brought it down here is because on your regular version, you'll still whip it and it's much easier with an electric whip. But if you, I lost train here. Oh yeah, so anyways, but the sugar makes it go much faster, whereas the keto version, it takes a little bit more. And I thought you guys wouldn't be exactly excited to hear me using the electric whisk for like 7 minutes. I know, seems crazy, but I thought that wouldn't be an enjoyable sound. So now, MJ mentions that they have a friend who grew up in Vietnam. And her dad was arrested, but they didn't know which prison, and the family was responsible to bring food. So, lucky that someone did find a route indicating his location. Yeah, that is lucky. A lot of times we forget, that we're not necessarily immune to the laws. Now, what I did bring was my little manual whisk. I don't know if you guys have seen these kind. It's like a little spring, and it's got coils. I love this whisk. And I have the kind like Serious Keto and Joe and everybody have that has the plunger. But this one works better for like egg fluffing. And this looks pretty good, and it still looks good and fluffy. But because it sat here a minute, I'm going to give it a little bit of an extra fluff. And oops, I'm going to fling it everywhere too. But basically right now, this is kind of like it's like a pretty thick hollandaise sauce consistency, and it really gets quite fluffy. Not quite pudding-like, but pretty close. And it does need to get that extra frothy sort of look. And just give me a second here to give it a good little bit of muscle. But the reason you need to do so much whisking is to really lighten it up, because it needs to float on top of your coffee. And I made way too much. There's no way you can, well, I mean, I guess you could, but you don't want to. This is way sweet. But what you do now is gently you take it, and I know you can't quite see the texture, but it's light and foamy. And very gently, you're just going to start layering it and float and let it float on top. So you can kind of see the little puddle showing up on top. And the reason you don't pour it right in is because while it is pretty light and fluffy, you also don't want it to, you don't want to blob it in there to sink it in. You kind of need a good layer down first before you can start pouring. So just takes a minute. The one thing about this is it's not a fast beverage. A lot of these elaborate things. Now that I've got a little layer in there, now you can start pouring, but you still want to be relatively slow about it, because you don't want to break the barrier. You just want to be real gentle with it. Which seems weird, because eventually you want to break the barrier to mix it in. That's 50-50 as to whether people mix it in or not. Quite frankly, I find it way too rich to not mix it in. But it is my Sunday night treat, so, go all wild, right? So, oops. Just move my dirty dishes now and clean what I spilled. But that's why I bring napkins down here. So, there you go. The Vietnamese egg coffee. And it looks lighter because the light's shining through it, but I can tell you this is almost black. and it is really good. I will tell you, you know, in the other coffees that we've made, I've always been pairing it with a little food on the side. This does not get something paired with it, and the reason it doesn't is because it is a dessert in and of its own right. And the last thing, an optional thing, and a lot of places don't do this and others do, I like to put a little pinch of cocoa powder right on the top. I mean, this is not something you have every Sunday. Well, obviously, because I haven't been having them every Sunday. But there you go. You just put a little, and I actually used, I blended my cocoa powders, a regular cocoa, and then I put a little black cocoa powder because I love it so much. But if it sits, eventually it starts to streak down into it. But you can do one of two things. Let's see, I'm going to catch up again. Jerry mentions that his dad was in the Dutch army during the Korean conflict in the 50s and then immigrated to the U.S. afterwards. He was commissioned as a contractor during the Vietnam conflict in the 60s and 70s. So yeah, and Debbie's mentioning about how many who served were really resistant to asking for to admitting that they needed as much help as they really ought to, as they really deserve. So, Hoofinit, you might not like coffee. You actually might, if you like sweets, because this is almost like candy. I'm trying to think. Honestly, it smells pretty much like, almost like a very dark chocolate. And the top, the egg cream, because it's sweetened condensed milk, really does taste like a, I'm trying to think, it's almost like a cream caramel flavor almost. And I will tell you, like a lot of people, I see them do this where they just dig in and drink a little, that is so cloyingly sweet. And I know that people love cloyingly sweet, but for those of us who've been keto for a long time, a cloyingly sweet is often a more of a challenge, and that is why I am not the people who like to eat all the cream off the top. I do like oh god, yeah, that's the stuff when you get the coffee up through the cream. So that is divine, because the coffee is dark and it's just right on the edge of the bitter, and the Robusto coffee, it's it has like a, it's not quite bitter, but it's really just quite bitey and almost like a slightly nutty, chocolatey-ish flavor. But yeah, so Hoofinit, this drink will probably not be for you if you don't like coffee and you don't like sweet. So you would definitely have to, I would say there are probably 1,000 other coffee drinks that you could try that you might find more to your liking. And you might stay tuned, actually you might enjoy the teas more, or possibly one of the hot chocolates that we'll talk about in the future. Anyways, I'm going to give this a bit of a mix because, and then you can see that my foam must have been really good because it actually resists mixing in, and so some of it's staying on top, which is just fine. Honestly, I wish that Rachel had been able to join for this, since Joe kind of introduced people to the blending of the egg in the coffee. I thought he might have got a lark out of the history behind other cultures that have eggs in coffee. Yeah, so the very strong coffee tones down the sugary sweet, and weirdly it almost gets like an even more caramel flavor to it. And I'm still getting like some of the strong, extra strong coffee flavor from the bottom, and that is what makes this heavenly. And it's just right as a dessert. But I can't imagine then chowing down with a piece of cake next to it. Oh, no way. Yeah. Oh, bubble tea's a whole different animal. Um, I'm not sure if Christy Davis from Keto Village has accomplished it yet, but they were working on some keto boba, and I found a couple recipes and have been trying to tweak it myself, but it's not quite right yet. But if I can get it by later in the year, we'll do some molecular gastronomy and make some keto boba tea. Hoping that you're not sheltered, you've just had different experiences. Oh, I will tell you, bubble tea. It's it's an acquired thing. I'm not entirely sure how it caught on to be so popular. Bubble tea are actually tapioca pearls, and most of the time they're flavored tapioca pearls into a sweetened tea, and or a sweetened milk tea most often. Well, not always. It's a lot of variety. So, and they have these big fat straws, so you suck up the tapioca pearls, and then you kind of have to chew them in your mouth. It's not always something I enjoy. You really got to be in the mood for it, and for me, usually in the mood for it means that I will begrudgingly have one at the anime conventions because it's the thing to do. So, yeah, but it's definitely a acquired thing, but it is really popular, so I think it's good for you. Heath mentions that he bought a coffee flavored bang the other day and he enjoyed it. I saw you drinking that Friday night on the live. Oh, so here's the twist. I tried one of those keto bang coffees and wretched. Can I just tell you, it was nasty, and I poured it out. And it is so hard to make myself pour things out. But yeah, that was a no-go for me. I'm going to take another drink here. Yeah, hoofing it. I'm not surprised because that was yeah. It's sort of like having little jelly pearls in it, in your tea, which is it's definitely an acquired thing. Hey, Rhonda. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. After I touch base with Claire a little bit on something, I'm going to touch base with you on some troublemaking excitement. So, I'll keep you in the loop on that. So, anyways, now that I'm halfway through my dessert here, you should know it's also not a lightweight dessert because it does have 2 egg yolks and the heavy cream and butter that's used to make the sweetened condensed milk. So it's definitely, it's not a light snack. It's a full-fledged dessert. So at any rate, where did we leave off? Oh yes, the coffee shortage. And that shortage was not only due to the war and the conflict that they were having. Hey Shauna, good to see you. And you didn't almost miss us. So, we still got a ways to go here. But, so, I'm sorry, it got cold and now I got like itchy for a second. So, it was also the government interference where they started restricting the coffee, causing those shortages. And it wasn't until, all the way until, I want to make sure I get the year right, 1986, when they started to do some recovery and the coffee was able to get back up in full form. And the reason that happened was because they had a whole economic recovery efforts in 1986 due to the Doma reforms. So that was a post-war effort to get Vietnam back in shape economically. and some of the sanctions that they had from the previous government were lifted. Some reparations were taken care of. Where Jerry mentioned previously that they asserted themselves after being taken advantage of for so long. All of those things started circulating again. And so they really started getting their plantations back in order, their coffee roasting back in order, doing a lot more export, and all of those things. Plus their tourist industry began to thrive again. So I find that interesting. The major coffee lovers didn't like the coffee bang, and the people, well, I guess I shouldn't say the people, because so far it's Heath is the person who liked the coffee bang. Very telling. You guys, I'm just enjoying this dessert so much. It's been a real treat. It's actually my second treat today, but I can't tell you about the first one. You'll see it tomorrow when I release my video. It's rendering. It's a hilarious one, and it's mostly for Shauna, although everyone will benefit from it. So, anyways, so they had the Domoy reforms, and 1986. It was all the way until 1999 until they became really, really robust again. And the no, not Coffee Bang, Shauna. The video I'll have tomorrow is unrelated to Bang coffees. So, but anyways, 1999. By 1999, Vietnam had coffee down to a science, and they were actually growing some really artisan, really high, very bougie coffee. That Robusto, chef's kiss. I mean, they had it going on, and they're actually at this point in time the second highest coffee producers in the world. They've surpassed Colombia, but they haven't quite surpassed Brazil. Brazil's still number one in coffee exports, but Vietnam is not far behind. And for some reason, though, in the United States, it's not that easy to get a hold of Vietnamese coffee. I'm not sure why, because it is really good. I will say that to buy it in the United States, it's kind of pricey. So I don't actually buy Vietnamese Robusto very often. I buy from mostly from Brazil, which is where some of my local roasters import their coffee from. So, but there is a company, and well, you can't see it on my lids because it's too shiny and the reflection from like filming lights. But the company is called Nguyen, and that is where my little fin and my extra large fin come from. This one, I don't know what brand it is. I actually don't even know. Yeah, it's just a generic fin, but that's okay. There's no reason to not have a generic one. It was actually amongst like some camping stuff buried away for years. So I don't know. I either got it in a camping store or while I was traveling for import wholesale, and I think by now, that's been a lot of years. So not a surprise that it's got some scratching and dents and other fun activity and no brand name on it. So obviously it holds up though. So, but yeah, so it's harder to find, but the company Nguyen actually brings the green coffee beans from Vietnam, and they bring it to the United States, And they actually, even though most of it is Robusto, they do have an Arabica bean that they roast. And they are producers in New Jersey. So, but I'm pretty sure they're online. I promise that sometime later this week I'll look it up. I'm sure they're online. I can't imagine that they're not. They're online, and we can probably find stuff, ask them some questions, all that kind of fun thing. So yeah, and then let's see. Oh, Shauna mentions that she's at her friend's is going to have to rewatch, and Debbie says was interested in the hot chocolate. Loves coffee, but not sweet coffees. That Rachel has convinced her to switch to the black coffee. Which, you know what, black coffee is 90% of the time for me. So again, I don't look at this so much as having a coffee as having a Sunday night dessert. I know that's really weird, but like, you know, coffee ice cream is delicious, and it falls outside the range of my having a coffee, and I kind of put this in that same category. And Brianna mentions that there's a huge population of Vietnamese people in Southern California. To see, and maybe we can look online to see if there's a company there. I know there is another company that's not Nguyen, but I don't remember where they're located. So yeah, I could look that up. In fact, I can't even remember their name. So for shame on me for that. So let's see, what else? Oh yeah, back to this egg coffee that I'm devouring. So the egg coffee, this particular egg coffee also was developed out of the shortages that they had. Not the coffee shortage and not the dairy shortage of the same time of the war and conflict, but the earlier after the French colonizers had invaded and after they had gone through some additional strife, they did have a dairy shortage, and the French colonizers worked together with some of the locals to try and find a new concept or a new way to enjoy their coffees, and what they came up with was the use of the sweetened condensed milk. So it was in the 1940s. I might need to fact check myself on that. Anyways, the 1940s is when they developed the egg coffee in Hanoi, and it was the Jiang family, and they have passed it through the generations and held that very tight for themselves. They held it very tight to themselves, and then then as the recipe shared, it got more popular. But they were the original of this delightful dessert, and it was designed to preserve, because the sweetened condensed milk was something that was done to increase the longevity of milk. And Brianna mentions that Nguyen is the Smith of Vietnam. Very true. Very, very true. So, let's see, what else? Oh, Renee mentions that she recognizes that it's not the same family, that it's a common name, but where she's at in Texas, there's a family that is huge and all related to and high up in their local community. Not a surprise. It's a very industrial a name as well. So, and they're very popular in a lot of industry and business. So, yeah, so sweetened condensed milk, the coffee, I told you about the fin. I ground my coffee too fine, and we had to do naughty things and give it a little stir. Told you about the Robusto. Oh, what else can I tell you? Oh, so I did mention at the beginning how it was the French colonizers in the 1800s that brought it over, and how like the local people weren't that excited by the coffee. So this part is, I don't know, probably needs a lot more fact checking, but I like to, in addition to facts and true things, I also like the rumor mill, and to get the proverbial tea spilled about it is all. Uh, One of the things that the French colonizers shared with the local people were legends, and that legend and myths about coffee was they told them that in oh shoot Ethiopia, yes, in Ethiopia their camels would eat the coffee beans and it gave them a lot of strength and energy and vigor, which, you know, that actually, it sounds sort of plausible, although it's kind of weird to think that the camels were running around eating coffee right off the trees. So, but then again, I don't know. But how would they know that the camels liked it for and because it made them more energetic? Uh, I'm pretty sure that they probably did eat it, but I don't think they would be able to prove that. But the legend kind of caught on and it spread, which made them slightly more interested in branching into that coffee. So that's your fun rumor mill sort of fact, not a fact, but a fun story, that mythology that goes behind it. So let's see. Jerry says he mixed up some coffee into the mocha keto chow with the heavy whipping cream and almond milk in the freezer for the creamy. Oh, that, yeah. You know, I will say I'm not a fan of the mocha keto chow. Like, I love keto chow. But I will say the two flavors, the tomato basil and the mocha, are the two that are just not my cup of tea. They're not my cup of coffee either. So, but I use all of the keto chow that I have, so occasionally they come up in my rotation. And the last time the mocha packets came up in the rotation, I did make it in my creamy, and I added a little bit of espresso powder, and I'm trying to remember, I put espresso powder, and malt extract in it, and it was so good. I made it quite enjoyable, so that's how I'm going to have it from now on. So Shauna says to keep the Wednesday camel away from my from her coffee. That's right. Hump day can happen some other way, but stay out of my coffee. So, it's still enjoyable, although it cooled off. Actually, now that the foam has had some time to dissolve in a little more, I find it even more pleasurable because the coffee has almost permeated it and become really a bit even richer. Let's see, Jerry says he also heard that young men going on their version of a vision quest to become a man would eat the coffee beans for energy and to control hunger. I could believe that, only because pre-keto, I used to get chocolate covered espresso beans, and I could eat those all afternoon and not want food. Although hard to say whether that was because of the coffee beans or because I was probably eating an awful lot of high sugar creamy chocolate. And then Renee mentions that in their Sam's sale paper, the creamy was $129.98 when ordered online with free shipping. That's kind of good to know. I have to make a decision on Sam's Club. I didn't always carry a membership for Sam's, but last year I saw a lot of different products that people were buying that I really wanted. And so when I got a coupon for buy a membership for $45, instantly get a $45 gift card, which to me, I was going to spend $45 in groceries anyway, so it sort of zeroed it out for me. But I have a Costco membership, and my Costco membership gives me enough rewards that it does pay for the membership. So without getting my yearly membership for free from Sam's Club, I'm not sure I'll renew it, even though some of the products they have are enjoyable and very convenient. They are more out of the way for me than the Costco, and I do get most of the things that I enjoy on the regular at Costco. It's really the seafood counter and the cheeses that they have at the Sam's Club here that I really like. Now, I was thinking of adding a second keto table to my patio for some additional storage and prep room. And so I probably better decide now if I'm going to do that, because Sam's Club has it for the cheapest price. I just threw coffee on the table, guys. Jeez Louise. But if I do that, I should buy my keto table before I have to make a decision on renewing. Which might be a little inconvenient because it would mean going and picking it up in the winter. But that's okay. So, let's see. Oh, Renee says they get a lot of good meat deals there. So, and they also have the scan and pay from the cart, so no lines. I gotta say, I do love that. I like shopping online. Sometimes going in for the deals is good, but I don't know how but I also did like being able to shop and then just drive up and have them dump it in the car and be done with it. And that is the one service that I really think Costco is lacking. But like Jerry says, they did recently open a self-checkout that makes it quicker. I'm not fond of the self-checkout though. Mostly because I like to just leave my big heavy things for them to scan, and then they throw it all in the cart for me. So I'm only lifting it into the cart and then from the cart to my car, not from the cart for them to scan. And I know that they, it's mostly a laziness and service thing. So the other thing that I really like that Costco has that Sam's doesn't is that our Brazilian steakhouse here is Texas de Brazil, and Costco has Texas de Brazil cards, and it's 4 $50 cards, so $200, but the price on it is discounted to $150. So that actually gets us out to Texas de Brazil twice if it's just two of us. Twice for two of us. Once if it's all four of us at a time. So, and of course we pay cash for the tip, but I mean, it's an entire dinner basically for free, so I can't go wrong with that. And Texas de Brazil cards, Sam's Club doesn't have it, so I don't know. So, Renee says we can share their membership card, but I'm good. I'm pretty confident that I can not auto renew. Actually, I'm not set up to auto renew. I already turned that off, so I'm pretty sure that. So I'm pretty sure that we can skip going to, if I don't auto renew, I have completely lost my mind here for a second. Give me a moment to regroup. So yeah, it's not going to auto renew, so I'm pretty sure I can wheedle a deal for another freebie year. So, and Attila mentions that I should remind people not to go to Rodizio Grill. Yeah, so most of you who are on this stream haven't been around me long enough to know that 3 years ago. We were downtown for Pride, and we went to, after, when you run a float in the parade, you get there stupid early in the morning and you broil in the sun all freaking day because you can't go anywhere. It's hot, you get cranky, you're tired. We have one of the biggest pride festivals in the country. I believe we waffle between second, third, and fourth in the biggest festivals. And so let me tell you, about like 3 o'clock, when we were finally done with the parade, after being there at like 6:30 in the morning all day long, herding cats, and we were finally done, and we had to trudge our way back from the end of the parade back to our hotel because we were also attending a gaming conference. We said, let's go to Rodizio Grill and have some meat. So, but we go in there now. We've been there in all sorts of cosplay and crazy costumes and all made up. Outside, we're in downtown Columbus, Ohio with, 500,000 other people attending Pride. You see people in every kind of dress imaginable all walking past the window. And we were not just crazy, we were dressed in some short shorts and I don't remember what I was wearing. I think I was wearing butterfly wings, trans flag butterfly wings. So, and we were obviously just off the parade. We were sweaty, we were tired. And in the past, when we've gone to the local restaurants, including Rodizio Grill, wearing similar clothes, they often were super nice, and they would bring us water because we're like, listen, I don't care about anything else, but you bring me a pitcher of water, I'm about to down it right now. But their manager came over and looked at us and said, we have children here. Children? And then he said, and a dress code. Now let me tell you, I know for a fact that that's not true. So, we're obviously very angry and stormed out. And on the way out, Attila was the one who got the most flack, being a man, obviously, straight off the Pride Parade. And we were really mad. And honestly, we were not quiet about it. How could you be? It's fucking Pride, and they're telling us that we're bad for the children in the restaurant. Like, for heaven's sakes, are you fucking kidding me? Look at the place. So anyways, I know we weren't the only people who walked out, but a lot of people didn't, and certainly no one else said anything. So it was a little disheartening right there on Pride weekend. So yeah, we don't support Rodizio Grill in any way, shape, or fashion because we don't go to places that promote homophobia. So yeah, it's kind of a disappointment because we actually did like their salad bar a little better than Texas de Brazil, but Texas de Brazil has the better meat. So yeah, and the very idea, it still would have been terrible. But the very idea that it happened right on Pride weekend, oh, yeah, I was so mad. Now, I will tell you that I was so mad that on the way out, obviously Attila was angrier. Yeah, the parade was still going on because people were yeah, it was terrible. But at any rate, I scooped up all the flags that I was carrying around from the float. I never even noticed. I was so angry, I was gripping their steak knife and fork in my hand and stormed right out with it. On the way out, the manager said, I hope you understand. I was like, I don't think I understand at all. What a homophobic piece of crap. And, and in my mind, I'm just like, think of the children. Really? Think of the fucking children. Who says that? Yeah, well, I'm not going to. Heath jokingly tells me I should watch my mouth with a lot of humor, and I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. So, I don't know. I still feel that it was probably important to tell them because we know a lot of people in Utah who are awesomely supportive and are also going to be mortified if they watch this stream and hear our story. So, uh, however, you are correct that the owner of Rodizio Grill is very right wing, so probably not going to get any help. So, but I did kind of make a stink on their Facebook, and their manager did say, I mean their manager, not the store manager, the Facebook person wrote back and said, "Oh, sorry, you had a bad experience. So, you know, I don't know what you were wearing. We don't have an official dress code, as you do point out, but you know, it is up to the discretion of the manager as to what they allow in there." And I was like, pretty much done at that point. So I just posted it in public, and basically, you can guarantee in Columbus, Ohio, no gays will be eating at Rodizio Grill. So at least there's that. Well, thanks, Jerry. That's very nice to be supportive. It's really appreciated. So you win some and you lose some. But Texas de Brazil is super nice here, and they are really delicious. So I left loud. We left loud and angry. Pretty much that if he was worried about the children, then our angry yelling was probably even worse. So I don't think anyone who brought their children into Rodizio Grill was concerned about people looking like they came off the Pride Parade. We weren't even dressed like super sexy, so you know, and even if we were, honestly, you know what, we're right down by where all of the waterfront is and stuff, and you see people in beachwear, so whatever. Oh, yeah, I bet we can find a place for you. I actually think, Jerry, that you might have a Fogo de Chao near you. And I'll be honest, when it comes down to whether it's a Rodizio, Fogo de Chao, or Texas de Brazil, Fogo de Chao wins it for me. I used to go to the one in Indianapolis every year for Gen Con. I really enjoyed it. To me, their meats have been top notch. The keto options on their salad bar have been really, really nice. I know not everybody here eats salad, but I eat salad. And when we went to the Brazilian steakhouse in Louisville, I actually sat next to Chris Bear. And at the end of my engorgement of all the meats, that's what I do at the end is I go hit the salad bar, and I got myself like 6 little olives and a little pile of mozzarella balls and a token piece of lettuce with some ranch dressing. And he laughed and pointed at my plate and said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's my dessert." So, yeah. No, there's no Texas de Brazil in Arizona, but I feel like there might have been a Fogo de Chao. I'll have to look it up again. Yeah, so that's what I think there might be, Fogo de Chao, but I don't remember exactly where in Arizona you are, so I would actually have to look it up. So, now that I went off on a big rant right in our live stream, sorry, but I'll bring it back to Vietnamese coffee and their love of sweetened condensed milk. Just so you are aware, the other drink that they have, which I don't know, maybe we'll have it one time during the summer because it is quite good, although it's very sweet, is instead of the way this was where we layered the sweetened condensed and the eggs up top. Yeah. they actually, what they'll do is they'll start with the cup and they'll put the sweetened condensed milk, no eggs, just sweetened condensed milk in the bottom. And then they brew into the sweetened condensed milk. And so then it starts to blend in, and then you give it a good mix and you pour it all over the ice. That is the go-to coffee drink in Vietnamese coffee houses. So that is the number one, and I will tell you, it is delicious. But again, it is very, very sweet, and you can't get a ketofied version in the coffee houses, so you have to make your own. I'm going to make sure that, there we go. I want to make sure I connect my butane and don't leave it hooked up overnight. So, oh, hey Blue Dove. I didn't see you join until now. Blue Dove has never been to a Brazilian steakhouse. Oh, yeah, we'll have to fix that sometime. So, and Shauna says that she's got a stuffing recipe and that she's going to post on the 2KK. Oh, that'll be awesome. If you don't mind, since it's in this chat, once you post it, I promise to give credit to everybody it's supposed to, but I could add it into the description here, just so people can find it easier, as well as reference it back to the 2KK group. So, I vote yeah, Blue Dove. Anytime you visit any one of us, I will hit a Brazilian steakhouse any old time. So, I'm gonna spill the beans and tell you that I have been so excited, and I know the schedule is hard, but I had a conversation with Dr. Volek, and he's going to start checking his calendar to find a time in late 2022 when he might be able to speak to us. And I say to us, but I know that most of you are not here in Ohio. And I don't know if anybody would travel for a one-day talk with Dr. Volek, but I've been talking to him, and he says later in the year, closer to the end of the semester, when the heavy research is going through a wind down at the university, it'll be easier to get him engaged. Now, it's possible that he's not going to have any open spots for 2022, so it might have to be early 2023. Wow. Talk about being booked up, right? But, I'm a big fan of Dr. Volek, and I think that he's amazing and really deep dive into the science. I get my nerd on far more with his information than I do with some of the trendier speakers. So, but I thought that might be something fun to get a one day with maybe like some kind of like a little catered meal of some sort. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off or not, but it's something that I've been thinking about. I will have to get some helpers, and I've been poking at a couple local people to see if we could do that. So. Oh, Brianna says she bought a ticket to KetoCon. Color me jealous. I've bought tickets to nothing. Not one darn thing. I know that some tentative dates for Ketopalooza came on. I cannot remember what they were. So I'm crossing my fingers. I know it wasn't the dates that we had all been hopeful for. So I'm hoping it works out. But in January, I buy my tickets to Gen Con. And I didn't go to Gen Con this year because it was still feeling too worrisome. Oh, thanks, Shauna. Shauna sent me a pic for the... so that'll be super cool. Actually, I'm going to see if I can open it. And let's see. Oh, yeah, the stuffing. Oh, it does look good. It's a picture of the stuffing. You guys, it looks amazing. So, but KetoCon, yeah, is the one in Austin. And I think that might be too much for me to pull off. Although, I have a friend in Austin, and I might be able to convince her to let me crash her space to save some money. I don't know if that's I don't know, though, how I feel about that, because I often find that I want to indulge when I go to cons and stay right in the thick of it. So, Yeah, end of September. So I'm pretty sure I'm good for Keto Palooza. It's gonna be a hard sell with my current job though, because I took this big old promotion, and to take two vacations, one in August and one in September, might be hard. However, the selling point for me might be that I can take only partial days off because I can work from my hotel room, and Gen Con is in Indy, which means I am in for being able to bring my work with me and work there and be on conference calls as needed. So, and the same thing for Louisville. In fact, when I went to Ketopalooza this year, I worked almost full time because I was able to get up really early. The biggest difference with my new job is that I'm no longer with the early morning meter people. So they're working regular business hours instead of that 6 a.m. in the morning where they're all texting me and we're having calls and while I drink my espresso in my pajamas. So might be it's going to be a struggle for sure. But you guys, I'm almost done with this coffee drink. I can't believe it. It must be more delicious than I thought. I kind of thought it would be so much that I wouldn't finish it, but no, it's carrying me through. So I think I'm going to reach out to two people. So I tried to talk to Crystalia, the place that I got my Turkish coffee set from. And I let them know that I had like a lot of coffee aficionados and interested people and people who really like entertaining stuff. As it turns out, they don't do discount codes. They talked about it because they said maybe they were going to make an exception because they really liked our video and they've liked interacting with me, but they really want more sales reps. And so they thought they were going to get me to be a sales rep, and I was like, no, I as much as I like to complain about the high stress of my job, I love the high stress of my job, and I love my job. Never in 1,000 years did I think I would love being a person who worked in utilities, but there we are. I love it. It's fantastic. It suits me. I love all my people, so there we are. So. Oh, Shauna says the stuffing recipe is reminding her of stovetop stuffing. That sounds great. Last year, I actually went through all the effort of making a stuffing. I used the croutons from Foxhill, and it was pretty good. Other than those croutons, I did everything from scratch. Right? Absolutely right. I don't need another job. You know. It's not in the cards. And if I did get another job, it wasn't going to be as a sales rep for discount kitchen supplies. I like to buy kitchen things and kitchen gadgets, cheap and expensive, but I don't want to sell them. It's not for me. So that's probably not going to work out. But but my local coffee roaster, Brioso, and also Silverbridge, have said they want to see how these talks go for a little bit, and if we reach 500 subscribers, then they want to give me a discount code for people to order their coffees. But before I do that, even though I buy their coffees a lot, I have a really good friend in Cincinnati who owns a coffee shop where he has been importing his beans and roasting them himself. And he and his wife, I cannot tell you how much I adore them. I think they are the greatest. And I don't know if he can afford to give me a discount. It's a small business. They're a small roaster, but they do shipping. So I really want to go and visit him. And I know that they've had a lot of stuff going on, so I haven't wanted to bother. But I think I might actually see if I can even just go visit them because I do love them so much. Personally, they've volunteered for me in some other endeavors, and it's actually one of, when you fall out of touch with friends and then you see them on your timeline or something, you're like, I really miss those people. So I do miss those people, and so I might reach out and see how he feels if I were to do something crazy pants and like go and visit, and maybe we could record a video. That would be so cool. So I'm gonna make the efforts to reconnect and reach out because they are so awesome. So a friend, and then Renee says she thought I was gonna say I had a good friend in Cincinnati that owns a radio station. That's the best. I love Cincinnati, and I love WKRP in Cincinnati. It is one of my favorite shows of all time, and that is my favorite episode. Every year, I make people watch that damn episode because it cracks me up so hard, especially at the very end when Mr. Carlson, they come in and they're all tore up, and he just has that look on his face because he's a brilliant actor, and he just says it so deadpan. I swear to God, I thought turkeys could fly. Like, what? and then hearing Les Nessman on the radio broadcasting, and he's like, oh, the humanity, it's hilarious. Oh, it kills me. I love it. So now I'm probably going to have to go lay in bed, and I'm going to watch it a little bit myself before I force the family to watch it again. So, Shauna, that's a bad joke. I'm not reading that out loud. So, anyways, it has really been good seeing you guys, all my favorite friends, and Hoofing, I hope you guys get to go to Ketopalooza again next year so we can go touring through the city. Hopefully we can time it better so I can stay out a little longer. I really wanted to get back to the con and see people because, that's just the way I am. But I'm also glad to see that you guys went out and suffered and sweltered in the humidity just as I was coming back from doing the same thing. Good stuff. Yeah. Oh, the humanity. That's actually what I said when I reviewed my keto crate, I think, because they had 2 items in there with freaking pineapple. I hate pineapple. I don't know. Although, weirdly, I like the pina colada keto chow. Probably because it tastes more like coconut. So. Anyways. So we are hitting at 7:57, so it's about 8 o'clock. Is there any questions you had about the coffee tonight, or anything in particular we want to run through before I sign off in 2 minutes? So, yeah, so many people get to go on the cruise, and so many of us are not. So we'll have to hit, the huge manatee. Attila, you also are cut off. That is another bad joke that I said it out loud and I regret. Regrets. How dare you make me say such a thing near the end of the stream. But anyway, so that's it though. It was delicious. However, it was really sweet. That is a lot of sweet. Whew. I might have to late night eat some cheese. So yeah, I really adore you guys. It's great seeing you. So good night, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream if there were no more questions. And I will see you guys next Sunday for sure. I don't know if I'm going to make the 10 a.m. keto on the couch. I kind of think that I might sneak onto it. But honestly, because the new job is ramping up and tomorrow we have our kickoff. It's from 9 to 11. I kind of have to really be present because I'm the lead project manager for it. So it's crazy, but I think they don't want me taking a break during the middle of the kickoff. So, all right. Good night, everyone. And I look forward to seeing Shauna's stuffing recipe. And I'll talk to you guys all sometime tomorrow and again later in the week, all the time. Thanks. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.